In the vast darkness between the stars, Commander Elena Santos stood at the helm of humanity's greatest achievement, the UES Hyperion. The sleek warship hung motionless against the backdrop of an azure nebula, its obsidian hull absorbing both light and sensor readings with equal efficiency. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, their movements precise and deliberate, while powerful quantum computers processed endless streams of data from the ship's advanced sensor array. Another Confederation patrol just passed through the sector. Lieutenant Chen reported from his tactical station, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. They didn't even slow down to investigate. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The Hyperion's existence was humanity's best-kept secret, and the Galactic Confederation's persistent underestimation of human capabilities had made maintaining that secret surprisingly easy. For centuries, the various alien species that made up the Confederation had regarded humanity as little more than clever primitives, tolerated but never respected. Status of the quantum drive? Elena asked, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing their position relative to Confederation space. Operating at peak efficiency, Commander, Chief Engineer Patol responded through the ship's internal communications. The modifications we made at Jupiter Station are holding perfectly. We're ready for extended operations. The Hyperion represented everything humanity had learned since first contact 50 years ago. While the Confederation's ships relied on conventional faster-than-light drives, the Hyperion utilized revolutionary quantum tunneling technology. While they depended on shields and armor, the Hyperion's hull was laced with metamaterials that could bend space itself around the ship. Every system, every component had been designed to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Message from Command. Commander, Communications Officer Rodriguez announced. Operation Watershed is approved. We have authorization to proceed. Elena straightened her uniform and addressed her crew. For years, the Confederation has dismissed us as an insignificant species barely worth their notice. They've restricted our expansion, limited our trade, and ignored our warnings about threats to galactic stability. Today, we begin changing their minds. She paused, making eye contact with each bridge officer. Not with threats or demonstrations of force, but by doing what humanity does best, solving problems that others claim are impossible. The Maelstrom pirates have been terrorizing the Outer Rim for decades. The Confederation has lost hundreds of ships trying to find their hidden bases. We're going to succeed where they failed. The crew nodded in understanding. The Maelstrom pirates were more than just criminals. They were a sophisticated organization that had mastered the art of striking from hiding places in supposedly impassable regions of space. Their raids had destabilized entire sectors, yet the Confederation's mighty fleets had proved powerless to stop them. Tactical. Begin active scanning of the Charybdis anomaly, Elena ordered. Let's see if our theories about those gravitational distortions are correct. The Hyperion sensors reached out, using principles of quantum entanglement to probe the roiling mess of spatial distortions that had frustrated conventional scanning methods for so long. Data flooded in, and the ship's AI began constructing a detailed map of previously hidden spatial corridors. Commander, Chen called out, excitement evident in his voice. We're detecting artificial structures, a lot of them. They're using the anomaly's distortions as natural cloaking fields. The main pirate base. We found it. Elena studied the tactical display with intense focus. The pirates had built their headquarters inside a maze of spatial distortions that conventional ships couldn't navigate. But the Hyperion wasn't conventional. Plot an approach vector through the safest corridor, she ordered. Maintain quantum stealth protocols. We'll observe their operations for 48 hours before making our move. As the Hyperion glided silently through the twisted space of the anomaly, Elena reflected on the significance of what they were about to accomplish. This mission wasn't just about stopping pirates. It was about demonstrating that humanity's unique approach to problem-solving had value. Where the Confederation relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, humanity had learned to innovate, to find elegant solutions to complex challenges. The next 2 days passed in careful observation. The Hyperion's crew mapped patrol routes, identified defensive installations, and cataloged the comings and goings of pirate vessels. Alina was impressed by the sophistication of their operation, but noted multiple vulnerabilities that stemmed from their overconfidence in their hiding place's security. Final check, Alina announced as they prepared to strike. All departments report readiness. The responses came back quickly and confidently. Engineering confirmed the quantum drive was primed for the complex maneuvers they'd need to execute. Tactical reported all weapon systems were charged and targeting solutions were locked in. Medical stood ready to handle any casualties, though they hoped to avoid them. Begin Phase 1, Alina commanded. Launch quantum buoys. Small devices shot out from the Hyperion's launch tubes, their own stealth systems keeping them hidden as they moved into precise positions around the pirate base. Once in place, they began generating a complex web of quantum-entangled fields. Buoys in position and synchronized, Chen reported. Field integrity at optimal levels. Alina took a deep breath. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity's new approach to space warfare would prove superior to conventional tactics. Execute Phase 2. Activate the quantum cage. The buoys activated simultaneously, their overlapping fields creating a bubble of altered spacetime around the pirate base. Inside that bubble, the pirates' sensors would continue to show normal space, but their ships would find it impossible to engage their faster-than-light drives. Phase 2 complete, Chen confirmed. They haven't noticed anything yet. Good. Commence Phase 3. Let's introduce ourselves. The Hyperion decloaked directly above the pirate base's main hangar, its black hull finally reflecting the light of nearby stars. Before the pirates could react, precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled their defensive systems and communications arrays. Opening ship-to-ship channels, Rodriguez announced. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Alina stood tall as she delivered humanity's message. Attention Maelstrom pirates. This is Commander Alina Santos of the UES Hyperion. Your base is surrounded, your escape routes are blocked, and your weapons are disabled. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to Confederation law. Resist, and we will demonstrate exactly why you should have paid more attention to humanity's progress. The response was immediate, but not from the pirates. Confederation monitoring stations that had ignored the Hyperion's presence for days suddenly lit up with activity as they detected the massive energy signature of an unknown vessel in a supposedly impossible location. As she watched the pirates begin powering down their systems in surrender, Alina allowed herself another small smile. This was just the beginning. The Hyperion would continue to operate in the shadows, solving problems that the Confederation couldn't, until they finally recognized that humanity's strength lay not in the size of its fleet or the power of its weapons, but in its ability to think differently about the challenges of space. The age of human insignificance was over. The galaxy just didn't know it yet. News of the Maelstrom pirates' capture spread through the Confederation like a shockwave. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation's capital world, Nexus Prime, representatives from 100 species argued about the implications. The massive chamber, with its soaring crystalline spires and floating platforms, echoed with heated debates. High Counselor Vexera, a towering figure whose iridescent scales shifted colors with each movement, raised all 4 of their arms for silence. These reports are clearly exaggerated, they declared. The humans simply stumbled upon a minor outpost and are inflating their achievement. But even as the Confederation's leadership dismissed humanity's accomplishment, more reports arrived. The Hyperion struck again, this time emerging from a quantum slipstream to disable a notorious slave-trading operation in the Carina sector. Before the Confederation fleet could respond, the human warship had already disappeared, leaving behind only freed captives and disabled criminal vessels. Aboard the Hyperion, Commander Santos reviewed the latest intelligence reports with her senior staff. The ship's conference room displayed a holographic map of known space, with red markers indicating their next potential targets. The Confederation's response time is improving, Lieutenant Chen noted, highlighting a cluster of patrol patterns. They've begun deploying rapid response units to areas they think we might appear. Chief Engineer Patol laughed softly. They're still looking for conventional warp signatures. They haven't even begun to understand how we move through space. Elena studied the tactical overlays carefully. The Hyperion's success had exceeded even their most optimistic projections, but she could sense a growing tension in Confederation space. Their actions were forcing the galactic community to confront uncomfortable truths about their own limitations. New priority target, she announced, expanding a section of the map. The Helios Archive. Our intelligence suggests it's being targeted by the Shadow Cartel. The room grew silent. The Helios Archive was one of the Confederation's most precious repositories of scientific and cultural knowledge. Its security was supposedly impenetrable, yet human intelligence networks had detected signs of an imminent attack. The Shadow Cartel? Rodriguez asked, concern evident in her voice. They're supposed to be a myth. Like most myths, there's truth behind the stories, Elena replied. They've been planning this operation for years, hiding their preparations behind shell companies and proxy agents. The Confederation's bureaucracy is too rigid to see the pattern. The crew spent the next several hours analyzing the intelligence and developing their response. The Shadow Cartel had acquired access codes through careful infiltration of the archive's staff, but they didn't know about the Hyperion's ability to detect their cloaked ships through quantum scanning. As they made their final preparations, Elena received an unexpected message from Earth Command. The Confederation Security Council has officially demanded that we cease operations, she informed her crew. They're claiming we're destabilizing established peacekeeping protocols. Are we standing down? Chen asked, though his slight smile suggested he already knew the answer. Our orders remain unchanged, Elena confirmed. We're to continue protecting Confederation interests, whether they want us to or not. Set course for the Helios Archive. The Hyperion slipped through space like a ghost, its quantum drive allowing it to bypass the normal travel restrictions of traditional space lanes. They arrived at the archive 12 hours before the projected attack time, taking position in the shadow of a nearby gas giant. Multiple contacts approaching through the Carina loop, Chen reported as the appointed hour drew near. Quantum signatures match known Shadow Cartel configurations. 8 vessels, heavily armed. Elena watched as the cartel ships emerged from cloaked approaches, their formation designed to overwhelm the archive's defensive grid through synchronized strikes. They had no way of knowing that the Hyperion had already interfaced with the archive's security systems through quantum-entangled communications. Execute Operation Lightning Strike, Elena ordered. The Hyperion burst into action, its advanced systems allowing it to be seemingly everywhere at once. Precise energy pulses disabled the cartel ship's primary systems before they could even register the threat. Quantum-tipped missiles destroyed their backup drives, leaving them stranded in space. All hostile vessels neutralized, Chen reported with professional satisfaction. No casualties. The archive is secure. But Elena's attention had already shifted to a new concern. Multiple Confederation warships entering the system, Rodriguez announced. They're demanding we stand down and prepare for boarding. Open a channel, Elena commanded. Her image appeared on screens throughout the approaching Confederation fleet. This is Commander Santos of the UES Hyperion. We have just prevented a major attack on the Helios Archive by Shadow Cartel forces. The disabled vessels contain evidence of extensive infiltration of your security networks. I suggest you focus on that rather than attempting to interfere with our mission. The Confederation commander, a veteran of the prestigious Tentorian Guard, started to issue threats, but Elena had already ordered the Hyperion to execute another quantum jump. They vanished from conventional space, leaving behind confused Confederation forces and grateful archive administrators. As they traveled through quantum space, Elena addressed her crew. The Confederation is starting to realize they can't simply dismiss us anymore. but their pride won't let them acknowledge our capabilities openly. We need to be prepared for increased resistance. The crew understood the implications. The Hyperion's mission was evolving from simply proving human capabilities to actively reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. Each successful operation forced the Confederation to confront their own prejudices and limitations. New intelligence coming in, Rodriguez reported. There's growing debate in the Confederation Assembly. Some members are calling for a formal investigation into how a primitive species developed such advanced technology. Let them investigate, Elena replied with quiet confidence. The more they look, the more they'll have to acknowledge that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond established limitations. The Hyperion continued its journey through the quantum realm, its crew knowing that each mission brought them closer to their ultimate goal, forcing the galaxy to recognize that humanity's place among the stars was not just earned, but essential for the future of galactic civilization. The thunder of their actions was still echoing through Confederation space, and the storm was far from over. The emergency session of the Confederation Security Council was in its fourth day of heated debate. The chamber's ancient walls, carved from luminescent crystal, pulsed with tension as representatives argued about the growing human problem. Above them, holographic displays showed the latest intelligence reports. Dozens of criminal organizations neutralized, smuggling operations disrupted, and long-standing threats eliminated, all by a single human vessel. High Counselor Vexor's scales had turned a deep crimson, reflecting their mounting frustration. This human warship is making a mockery of our authority. They operate without sanction, ignore our jurisdictional boundaries, and worst of all, succeed where our own forces have failed. First Speaker Catal, a being of pure energy contained within an crystalline environment suit, moved to the center of the chamber. Perhaps it is time we considered that our initial assessment of human capabilities was flawed. The suggestion sparked immediate outrage. Centuries of believing in their own superiority had left many Confederation species unable to accept the possibility that humans might have surpassed them in any meaningful way. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Hyperion was about to make another discovery that would shake the Confederation to its core. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called out, his voice tense. "The quantum sensors are picking up something unusual in the outer rim. The energy signatures. They don't match anything in our database." Elena moved to his station, studying the readings with growing concern. The quantum fluctuations suggested massive objects moving through space, but in patterns that defied conventional physics. "Send the data to Earth Command for analysis," she ordered, "and begin passive monitoring of all Confederation communications channels. I want to know if they're seeing this too." Hours passed as the Hyperion's advanced AI systems processed the mysterious readings. The ship maintained its position at the edge of known space, watching and waiting. Finally, Dr. Maya Patel from Engineering requested an emergency meeting. "Commander, I've completed my analysis," she announced to the gathered senior staff. "These aren't natural phenomena. We're detecting quantum wake signatures from what appears to be a massive fleet, using some form of advanced stealth technology that even our sensors can barely detect." Elena studied the projected course of the unknown fleet. "They're heading directly for Confederation space, aren't they?" "Yes," Maya confirmed. "And based on their energy output, these ships are larger and more powerful than anything the Confederation has ever encountered. This could be an invasion force." The implications were clear. The Confederation, with its rigid thinking and dismissal of human warnings, was about to face a threat they couldn't even detect. Elena knew what they had to do, even if it meant revealing some of the Hyperion's capabilities. "Send an encrypted quantum burst transmission to all major Confederation worlds," she ordered. "Include our sensor data and projected invasion routes. Mark it as an emergency warning from the UES Hyperion." The response was predictable. Within hours, the Confederation Security Council issued a public statement dismissing the human warning as attention-seeking behavior and further evidence of humanity's technological delusions. "They're not even bothering to check the data," Rodriguez reported with disbelief. They're so convinced of their own superiority that they're ignoring a direct threat to their worlds. Elena had expected this reaction, but it still frustrated her. How long until the unknown fleet reaches Confederation space? At their current velocity, less than 72 hours, Chen answered. They're maintaining perfect formation despite their stealth systems. This is definitely a coordinated military force. The next 2 days were tense as the Hyperion tracked the approaching fleet while continuing to send warnings to the Confederation. Each warning was met with increasing hostility and demands that the human vessel cease its disruptive activities. Then, exactly as the Hyperion had predicted, the unknown fleet dropped their stealth fields at the edge of Confederation space. The massive ships, organic in design and bristling with weapons unlike anything seen before, began systematically attacking outer colony worlds. The Confederation's response was chaos. Their defensive fleets, caught completely unprepared, scrambled to mount a response. But their conventional sensors couldn't track the alien ships once they re-engaged their stealth systems, leading to devastating ambushes. Confederation forces are taking heavy casualties, Chen reported grimly. Their defensive formations are breaking apart. These invaders, they're calling themselves the Swarm. They're using some kind of biological technology that adapts to conventional weapons. Elena watched the tactical displays with growing concern. The Confederation's pride and dismissal of human warnings had left them vulnerable, and now countless lives were being lost as a result. Command coming in from Earth, Rodriguez announced. We're authorized to engage. Elena nodded, her expression determined. Send a message to all Confederation forces. The Hyperion is moving to engage the Swarm. We're transmitting quantum scanning protocols that will allow their sensors to track the enemy ships. Any vessels that want to coordinate with us are welcome to do so. The Hyperion moved into position, its quantum systems already mapping the Swarm's movements through space. They had one advantage. The invaders didn't know about human quantum technology, which meant their stealth systems were useless against the Earth ship's advanced sensors. Multiple Confederation vessels responding to our transmission, Rodriguez reported with surprise. They're requesting to form up under our command. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Finally, faced with annihilation, some in the Confederation were willing to put aside their prejudices and accept human help. But she knew the real test was still to come. Signal the Allied ships to form up, she ordered. Tactical, prepare quantum targeting solutions for all Swarm vessels in range. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do. As the combined fleet prepared for battle, Elena couldn't help but reflect on the irony of the situation. The Confederation's pride had led them to this crisis, but perhaps their fall from that pride would lead to something better. A true partnership between species based on mutual respect and recognition of each other's strengths. The real question was, would enough of the Confederation survive to learn that lesson? The void between stars erupted with energy as the Hyperion led its makeshift fleet against the Swarm. Commander Elena Santos watched as quantum-enhanced targeting data flowed to their Confederation allies, allowing them to track the previously invisible enemy vessels. Multiple Swarm battleships decloaking, Chen reported from Tactical. They're adapting their formation to counter our approach. These aren't mindless drones, Commander. They're learning. The Swarm ships were massive organic mechanical hybrids, their hull structures seeming to pulse with internal energy. As Elena watched, the enemy vessels began shifting their configurations, growing new weapon emplacements and defensive structures in real time. They're not just adapting, Dr. Patil observed from her engineering station. They're evolving in response to our tactics. Each engagement teaches them something new. Elena processed this information quickly. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before, and each time they had survived through innovation and unconventional thinking. If they can evolve, we can use that against them. Deploy quantum resonance probes. The tiny probes, barely larger than satellites, spread out among the enemy fleet. Each one began broadcasting specific quantum frequencies, carefully calculated to interact with the swarm's organic technology. Swarm vessels are responding to the probes, Chen announced. They're trying to adapt to all the different quantum frequencies simultaneously. Elena allowed herself a grim smile. Just as we predicted. Their biological systems can't ignore potential threats, forcing them to evolve countermeasures to every frequency we broadcast. Route power to the main quantum cannon. The Hyperion's most powerful weapon, kept secret until now, hummed to life. It was based on a simple principle, quantum entanglement on a massive scale. While the swarm ships were distracted trying to adapt to multiple quantum frequencies, they had unknowingly become quantum entangled with each other through the probes. Confederation vessels reporting ready, Rodriguez called out. They've adjusted their shields to the frequencies we provided. Elena took a deep breath. Send the execution code to all allied ships. Fire main quantum cannon on my mark. The weapon fired, but instead of attacking the swarm directly, it created a cascade of quantum interactions throughout their fleet. Each ship's attempts to evolve defenses began affecting every other vessel through their entangled states. Their biological systems went into overdrive, trying to adapt to changes that were happening faster than they could process. Swarm vessels are losing structural integrity, Chen reported with growing excitement. Their adaptive systems are caught in a feedback loop. They're destroying themselves trying to counter too many threats at once. The massive enemy ships began to break apart, their organic components unable to maintain cohesion under the strain of unlimited simultaneous evolution. But Elena knew better than to celebrate too early. Multiple swarm vessels breaking formation, Rodriguez warned. They're making a run for the nearest populated system. Not today, Elena declared. She opened a channel to their Confederation allies. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Don't let them escape to evolve new defenses. The combined fleet moved with surprising coordination, Confederation weapons combining with human quantum technology to systematically destroy the fleeing swarm vessels. Years of dismissing humanity had left the Confederation unprepared for just how effective their ships could be when properly led. Hours later, as the last swarm ship was reduced to drifting organic debris, Elena received an incoming transmission from the Confederation flagship. High Commander Vexra's image appeared on the main screen, their scales now a subdued blue-gray. Commander Santos, they began, their voice carrying an unfamiliar note of humility. The Confederation. I owe you and your crew a debt that cannot be easily repaid. Your warnings, which we foolishly ignored, and your intervention, which we did not deserve, have saved countless lives. Elena nodded respectfully. The swarm was a threat to all sapient life, High Commander. We did what any responsible species would do. Perhaps, Vexra admitted, but few species would have helped those who had dismissed and insulted them so thoroughly. Fewer still would have developed the means to defeat an enemy that could adapt to any weapon used against it. That's where you've misunderstood humanity, Elena explained. We don't develop technology just to prove our worth or demonstrate our power. We develop it because we're curious, because we see problems and can't help trying to solve them. The quantum technology that saved us today, it came from researchers who simply wanted to understand how the universe works. The High Commander was quiet for a moment. The Confederation Security Council has called an emergency session. We would be honored if you would address them, Commander. Perhaps it's time we all learned more about humanity's approach to, well, everything. As Elena prepared her remarks for the council, she reflected on how the swarm's attack had changed everything. The Confederation had finally been forced to confront their own limitations and recognize that progress doesn't always come from the most expected sources. The Hyperion's crew began compiling their battle data, knowing it would be studied by both human and alien strategists for years to come. They had proved that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their ability to think creatively and act decisively when faced with unprecedented challenges. What no one yet realized was that the swarm had been just the beginning. Something else was stirring in the darkness between galaxies, something that would make the swarm look primitive by comparison. But this time, humanity wouldn't face it alone. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Confederation had changed in the months following the swarm incident. Where once the human delegation had been relegated to the furthest reaches of the chamber, they now occupied a prominent position near the center. Commander Elena Santos stood at the podium, addressing representatives from over 1,000 worlds. The discovery we're sharing today isn't just about new technology, she explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing quantum scan data. It's about a new way of thinking about our place in the universe. The data showed something that had every species in the chamber concerned: massive gravitational disturbances at the edge of the galaxy, far larger than anything natural should produce. The Hyperion had detected them during its post-swarm patrol missions. First Speaker Ketal floated forward in their crystalline environment suit. You believe these disturbances are artificial in nature? We do, Elena confirmed. The patterns suggest technology far beyond even the swarm's capabilities. But more importantly, we believe this represents an opportunity for the Confederation to truly unite, not through fear or tradition, but through shared purpose. The chamber erupted in discussion. In the past, such a claim from humans would have been dismissed immediately. Now, after everything that had happened, every species present knew better than to ignore human insights. High Counselor Vexera, their scales shimmering with thoughtful purple hues, addressed the assembly. The humans have proven themselves not just capable allies, but essential to our survival. Their quantum technology has been integrated into our defense networks. Their tactical innovations have revolutionized our military doctrine. But most importantly, their way of thinking has shown us the danger of complacency. In the months since the swarm's defeat, the galaxy had changed dramatically. The Hyperion's success had sparked a revolution in how species interacted with each other. Ancient rivalries gave way to collaborative research projects. Traditional power structures were reformed to encourage innovation and creative problem-solving. We're establishing a new division within the Confederation military, Elena announced, the Quantum Exploration and Defense Initiative. Every member species will contribute their unique perspectives and abilities, because we've learned that true strength comes not from technological superiority, but from combining different ways of thinking. She gestured to her crew, now joined by alien officers who had proven themselves during the swarm crisis. The Hyperion was just the beginning. We're building an entire fleet of quantum-capable ships, crewed by mixed-species teams. Each vessel will represent the best of what every civilization has to offer. The Assembly's approval was nearly unanimous. Even those species that had been most dismissive of humanity had seen the value of human ingenuity. The Confederation was transforming from a rigid hierarchy into a true collaborative alliance. Later, on the Hyperion's observation deck, Elena stood with her senior staff watching ships from dozens of species working together to construct the first joint quantum defense platform. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Rodriguez asked, watching an alien engineering team implementing human designs with their own unique improvements. Honestly, no, Elena admitted. We set out to prove humanity's worth, but we accomplished something far more important. We showed that progress comes from combining different perspectives, not imposing one view over all others. Dr. Paddle joined them, holding a data pad showing the latest analysis of the gravitational anomalies. Whatever's out there, it's getting closer. The disturbances are increasing in frequency and intensity. Elena nodded thoughtfully. And when it arrives, it won't find a divided galaxy full of species too proud to work together. It will face a united confederation that values every perspective and approach to problem-solving. The Hyperion's quantum sensors continued monitoring the approaching anomalies, but the mood aboard the ship was one of determination rather than fear. They had faced down the swarm and emerged stronger. They had overcome centuries of prejudice and dismissal to forge new alliances. Whatever was coming from the darkness between galaxies would face not just humanity's ingenuity, but the combined strength of a truly united galactic civilization. New quantum readings coming in. Chen reported from his station. The patterns, they're like nothing we've seen before. Elena smiled. Once, such a discovery would have sent the Confederation into panic. Now, it was an opportunity to prove that their new approach to facing challenges worked. Signal the joint fleet, she ordered. Tell them to prepare for first contact protocols. Let's show whatever's out there that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't our technology or our tactics. It was teaching everyone to embrace the unknown as an opportunity rather than a threat. As the Hyperion moved into position alongside ships from a dozen different species, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. The ship that had once operated in shadows now led a combined fleet proudly. The crew that had once worked in secrecy now trained officers from across the galaxy. The dawn of a new era had truly arrived. And whatever challenges that dawn might bring, they would face them together, each species contributing their unique strengths to the greater whole. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by dominating or overwhelming others, but by showing that true strength comes from unity and diversity. The unknown was waiting out there in the darkness. But this time, the galaxy was ready.